Hi guys, I wish to take you through KCSE 2021 or 2020-2021 Computer Studies Paper 1 Theory Revision, and therefore this is the question paper. The instructions are: write your name and index number in the spaces provided above, sign and write the date of examination in spaces provided above. This paper consists of 2 sessions, A and B. Answer all the questions in section A, answer question 16 and any other 3 questions from section B. All answers should be written in spaces provided on the question paper. This paper consists of 15 printed pages. Do not remove any pages from the booklets. Then, in bold, candidates should check the question paper to ascertain that all the papers are printed as indicated and no questions are missing. Candidates should answer the questions in English. Therefore, I want us to go through the marking scheme on what is expected of us. And for that case, let's start with the question 1 in section A. Section A is 40 marks. Answer all the questions in this section in the spaces provided. Number 1, list 4 input devices used to capture data by the way of scanning. You have been given 2 marks, and therefore the expected answers are: we have optical mark recognition. Some books will call it optical mark reader. The next one is optical bar recognition. The next one is optical character recognition, and also we have magnetic ink character recognition. Remember, we have 2 types of scanners in technologies. We have magnetic and optical, and therefore the first 3 are optical, whereas the last one is magnetic scanner. Then question number 2, explain 2 consequences of not restricting the use of USB flash drives in a school computer laboratory. Therefore, the expected answers are: you can talk of sneakernet. Sneakernet is copying files from one machine to the other, and therefore for that case it becomes an answer because it can lead to illegal transfer of files, where students come with a flash disk and copy games, photographs, and other images from one computer to the other without the consent of the teacher or the computer lab technician. The next one is can lead to theft of sensitive data. Some people may use the flash disk to copy exams or to copy sensitive data for illegal use. Also, it can lead to exam irregularities, where during KCSE practicals, students can copy the practicals and exchange with each other, leading to an exam irregularity. Also, entry of illegal materials, e.g. pornography. Therefore, that one is also a consequence of not restricting the use of flash disk in computer laboratory. Then we have question number 3. Differentiate between a computer power cable and a computer interface cable, 2 marks. Therefore, a power cable is used to carry electricity or current between devices or components, whereas interface cables are used to transmit data signals. Simple and clear. Then question number 4. Explain 2 computer hardware features that may be considered when selecting a laptop computer to be used when developing a KCSE computer studies project. Therefore, basically here, for you to get the question right, you have been asked about hardware features, not software, or both. And therefore the answers are: you can talk of hard disk capacity for larger storage. During your KCSE project, you need a computer with a higher hard disk. Also, processor speed, increased output or efficiency. Therefore, you need a machine that is faster. You also need a machine that is efficient in terms of having speed, which is contributed by having a bigger capacity of random access memory or the primary storage. Also, we can talk about multimedia devices. Remember, you have to copy or burn your work in the CD or DVD, and therefore you need a hardware called a DVD writer or a DVD drive, and for that case it brings multimedia capability or multimedia devices. Then we have question number 5. List 2 examples of operating system that are not, the word not is in bold, capable of supporting computer networks. And basically we have Microsoft Disk operating system and also Windows 3.1. Those are 2 good examples of such operating system. Then question number 6. Explain each of the following functions of an operating system. Each is 2 marks. The first one is processor scheduling. The second one is interrupt handling. When you talk about processor scheduling, it's a process whereby jobs are allocated time slices for execution. The operating system determines which task will be processed first, and therefore we are talking about priority, come first and be served first. Then we have interrupt handling. This means that the processor stops executing tasks when it receives a request before resuming back to what it was doing. And therefore an interrupt is a break from normal processing activities. Then we have question number 7. Give 2 examples of each of the following application packages. This is Form 2 work under the topic software, so where we go about application software. Database, we have Microsoft Access, we have Oracle, we have Foxbase, Paradox. You can talk of Microsoft SQL, and also you can talk about MySQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Then we have word processing. You can talk of about Corel Word Perfect. You can talk about that is the Word Pro. You can talk about Microsoft Word. You can talk about Microsoft WordPad. You can talk about Notepad. You can talk about WPS. You can also talk about Open Office Writer. Those are some of the expected answers. Then we have desktop publishing, where we talk about Microsoft Publisher, which is very common. You can also talk about Adobe PageMaker. You can also talk about Adobe InDesign, CorelDRAW, Photoshop, Paint, etc. Then we have question number 8. State 2 ways of preventing children from accessing adult content in a computer device linked to the internet. Therefore, the keyword here is the adult content in a computer linked to the internet. This means the computer is already linked to the internet. And therefore, some of the expected answers, you can install block apps, e.g. NetNavi or Cyber Patrol. You can also set up parental controls using Google Chrome, and therefore for that case you will ensure that your machine is using Google Chrome as the default browser. You can also install some of the log files, like monitoring the sites they visit via logs. Therefore, if you are away, you can come and monitor so that you can take action. Also, you can educate your children on social ethics. Education is power. Also, we say information is power. Then question number 9. A health center stores patients' details in a computer. State 2 ways of maintaining confidentiality of information. And therefore, some of the expected answer, you can use accounts whereby each employee should have his or her own account, so that you can be in a position to know that if you misbehave using your account, then you will be penalized as an individual, you will be punished as an individual. Therefore, you avoid using one account for everybody, but allocating everybody's account. You can use of password for restricted data. In case you're talking of sensitive data that should not be seen by everybody in the hospital, then you can use passwords to lock such files. You can also install biometrics device where patients log in using fingerprints rather than passwords. This will ensure that nobody else who can cram your password, because some people may cram your password and see that is the illness you are suffering from or the medication you are taking. And for that case, if you press biometric you log in and then you log out, then they will not be in a position to access that data on your absentia. Then question number 10, convert the decimal number 9.25 to binary equivalent. Therefore, basically what you do, you divide the, we have two parts, we have the integral part and the fractional part. Therefore, I have separated, this is the integral part, then this one is the fractional part. And for that case, for the fractional part, you continuously divide by 2. If a number is divisible by 2, you have 0, like for this case. But if a number is not divisible by 2, then you write 1 as the remainder. And therefore, that case, the most significant bit here, you read from down, top, that is bottom, top. This is the least significant bit, this is the most significant bit. When it comes to the fractional part, you multiply by 2 until you start getting 1. And therefore, the first part is 0.25 times 2, you get 0.5. You now take the 0.5 times 2, you get 1. Therefore, once you get 1, it stops at that point. And for that case, this part is for the 1001 is 9.0.2. Therefore, this is the answer. Then from there, we can proceed to question number 11. Explain the meaning of the term distributed data processing as used in computers. A system, this refers to a system that allows multi-computers to be used anywhere in a fair, or nodes executes the tasks allotted parallelly, they work together via a network. Therefore, when you talk about a distributed processing, that is distributed data processing, this means that computers are in different rooms or in different geographical locations, but actually working on the same data via a network. Then we can also go to question number 12. The area of a rectangle is obtained using the formula area equals to half base times height. Draw a flowchart that captures the input from a user, computes the area of the triangle, and displays the results. Therefore, before we tackle this, ladies and gentlemen, you can download this marking scheme for free from my website. I have dropped the URL or the address of my website just below this video. Therefore, don't worry about it. You can just download and then print for use. Therefore, we have been told to come up with a flowchart that get an input, computes and gives an output. And for that case, inputs and out, that is to initialize, we use the ellipse or the oval, this one. Therefore, we have to have start and stop. Then we use a parallelogram or a kite as an input, and therefore I have said start, enter input base, input height. Then from here we use a rectangle to process. We use a rectangle to process, and therefore area equals to half. Asterisk is for multiplication, times base times height. Then you give the output. The output is the area. Then the system stops, and you get your 3 marks. Then we have question 13. State 2 circumstances that may necessitate the use of questionnaire in system development. Apart from questionnaire, we have other methods like interviews, observation, sampling, automated methods, blah, blah, blah. But for now, you have been asked which are the circumstances that may make you as a researcher to use a questionnaire. And therefore, some of the expected answer, which are not just limited, you may have others, is that when privacy is required, somebody may opt not to give information via interview or via observation or via any other method, but would feel comfortable to take a questionnaire and fill it in his or her privacy. Then sincerity. When you wish to get sincere data, then use questionnaire. Because if you use other methods like interview, somebody may hide, somebody may be shy. Some other methods like observation, some people will change their behavior. Therefore, for that case, questionnaire will give sincere data. When people are in different geographical locations. Nowadays, you can use Google questionnaires where people from different locations can fill for you. Then we have question number, we are now in question number 14. In question number 14, an organization opted to connect their computers to form a network. State 2 ways through which the organization may save on the cost of the operations upon implementing the networking. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, here you are being asked about advantages of networking or significance of networking, and this is form for topic 1. Therefore, the first answer is resource sharing. You can buy a resource like a printer and being shared in the whole school. You can have one powerful printer being shared by very many people, other than buying so many printers. You can also avoid or reduce movements from one office to the other. Remember, the wise men say time is money, and therefore if you reduce movements, then you are saving on time. You will be serving clients when you are seated without moving from one office to the other, and also it gives ease of communication. When you are in a network, you can just send a file using email or using WhatsApp, and then you'll be in a position to get feedback instantly. Then we have state 3 benefits that may be realized by using ICT to manage automobile traffic operations. It is important for you to note that ICT is not computer. When you talk about ICT, we are talking of internet, we are talking about TV, we are talking about telephone, we are talking about mobile phone, and now computer. Therefore, ICT refers to the integration of information technology and telecommunication services with the name of data processing and transmission. And therefore, some of the expected answers are reduced cost of hiring police services. Remember, most people who deal with the traffic operations are traffic police, and therefore these policemen can be deployed elsewhere. Have backups of incidents by use of real-time camera TV. Therefore, also when we talk about a CCTV camera, it is an ICT gadget, and for that case, if a policeman witness an accident, he cannot share he cannot share with you the picture of the accident, but a CCTV can share the picture with you. You can revert it back, you can rewind, and therefore ease of fine collection. In developed countries like the US, you get that if you are got in an accident or in the wrong side, you just pay fines instantly without giving anybody money, and therefore you can use services like M-Pesa to correct fines, which will ease the operations of the automobile. Also, ease of communication. You can imagine a situation whereby a policeman has raised his hand to signal pass or stop, compared with a red light pressed somewhere vivid where somebody can see. Therefore, it is of communication. Lights can be seen easily compared to a policeman hand raised for a signal. Therefore, you can argue that the whole day, that one is a great point. Then let's move to section B. Section B consists of 60 marks, and it is very important to note that answer question 16 and any other 3 questions in this section. Remember, you have not been told to answer all the questions, but you have been told to answer question 16 and any other 3. Therefore, question 16 part A. Explain 2 ways that may be used to identify the existence of errors in a program. This is form 3, third topic, elementary programming principles. And therefore, how can you tell that your program has errors? The first one is to go through the code when still on paper before you write it in the code editor window. That one is called desk checking or dry running. The next method is to allow the system itself to identify and flag the errors. That one is called the use of debugging utilities. And the last one, you can give wrong data to the system to see whether it will flag the errors or it will stop working. That is called test data method. Then you can proceed to part B, Figure 1 shows a program translation model involving the use of a translator. We have row level source. Remember, in row level we have the machine and assembly. But here we have been told we have row level language, then we have a translator, and then a machine. Therefore, this question for me, you can argue it out in both ways, whereby you can say it is an assembler or a compiler. But it is subject to discussion according to your understanding of the diagram. Therefore, for the first one, you can talk about assembly language being translated to another language, and for assembler or compiler. Explain the reason. The reason is simple. Whether it is assembler or compiler, the reason is that so that the computer can understand and execute the codes. That one remains for both. Then we have part C. A private college intends to offer training on a computer package to a class consisting of 25 students. Each student is required to pay Kenya shillings 2,000 for this training. A discount of 14% is awarded to each student who will have paid full fees by opening date of the new term. Write a pseudocode that captures fees paid by each student. Determine whether the student is eligible for discount, computes the total fees corrected and the total discount awarded, 8 marks. Therefore here, there is no standard answer for a flowchart in KCSE. It depends on your argument. Also, it depends on your teacher, whether he or she taught you which kind of control structures. Therefore, for me, I have argued it out this way using a select control structure. Therefore, we start and we have the word repeat to show that for every input we shall repeat. Therefore, then we set the count to 25. Then we input student, input fees. Then if the fees is equal to 2,000, then discount becomes now 100 minus 14, which is 0.86 times fees. Else, your fees remains with no discount, and therefore discount becomes fees times 1. Therefore, that means you have to pay 2,000. Then print discount. Total fees equals to discount times count. Total discount equals to discount times count. And if stop the program. Therefore, this one is subject to scrutiny. It is subject to discussion depending on your understanding of the question. Therefore, we may have thousands of answers in this question. Then question 17, explain 3 benefits of using twisted pair cable in a Rocco area network. This is Form 4 first topic. The question is asking for the advantages or the benefits, and therefore it is cheap because of mass production for the use of telephony industries. You'll notice that the twisted pair cables are so much used in telephony industry, and therefore it is cheap because of that mass production. Number 2, it is easy installation. It is easy to set up a network media using the UTP. This one, you don't need to go to a college for you to be in a position to set it up. You only need to see. It is the work of the eyes, and therefore easy installation. Then installation equipment are cheap and readily available. We don't need to explain that. Then be very keen on this question. It is very tricky. Charles has linked 5 computers at his home using star topology. Therefore, you have seen I have marked for you 5. And therefore, the question is tricky. Draw a diagram representing for this topology. Therefore, you will apply 5 computers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have to show that this guy used 5 computers. And therefore, you will score your 2 marks. Then state 3 reasons that may have prompted him to use this topology. Therefore, he is asking the advantages of star topology. And for that case, the first expected answer should be it is easy to configure. It is easy to troubleshoot. To troubleshoot is the act of getting problems, identifying, trying to get where the problem is. It is also easy to operate. Also, it allows centralization of key networking resources. For example, the server or a printer. Explain 2 requirements for connecting the network to the internet. Therefore, we are trying to see the chaos setup. We want to connect the chaos setup to the internet. And therefore, the first thing is to identify who will supply you the internet. That is the ISP, or the Internet Service Provider. Therefore, you must come up and ask yourself which is the affordable internet service provider. Then you can also use a modem. You would have opted to buy something like MiFi or a modem, a device to modulate the signals for smooth internet reception. You can also add a data terminal equipment. Question number 18. Explain ways through which advancement in ICT has benefited national security. Therefore, here you can have thousands of answers, and therefore this question has no standard answer. It is just an open-ended question, and therefore students can give millions of answers depending on how they argue them out. Therefore, these are just some of the answers. Therefore, there is easy communication, easy spread of criminal photos for search. Therefore, we are talking about national security. In case we have criminals, within a second, the criminal investigating department can release the photos in WhatsApp, and then within no time we get the criminals. We can also use TV. Remember, I have told you that ICT is not computer. ICT, you can talk about CCTV, internet, mobile phone, television, radio, all those are ICT, satellites. Therefore, when you talk about WhatsApp, it's also part of the programs you can use in the ICT. It is efficient to use biometrics to identify a person through ICT gadgets. Nowadays, remember, fingerprints are taken in places like Huduma Center, and then they are sent. Then they are scanned through biometrics, and you are given a certificate of good conduct. Therefore, it's also easy to apply and acquire certificate of good conduct using the ICT. Then it is easy to record data and retrieve using ICT devices. It is also easy to educate people on their rights by use of ICT devices. Therefore, you can go to National Police Service website or the KDF and run a route. Then we have question 18b, convert the binary number 1101.011, which is in binary format, to decimal. For this case, you arrange numbers just like I have done. You separate them using a line. Where the dot is, those ones go to the left hand side, and then where the integral part goes to the right hand side. And for that case, you start from, you just write a 2, this is binary, raised power 0 for the first number, 2 raised power 1 for the second number, 2 raised power 2 for the third number, 2 raised power 3 for the fourth number. Then you compute them out. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 in a number raised power 1 is that number. Therefore, it is 2 times 0, 0. Any number raised to power 0 is 1 according to the rule of indices, and therefore for that case we get 8 plus 4, 12 plus 1, 13. Therefore that side we get 13. Then on this side, since this was 0, if you have studied the Cartesian plane, from 0 we go to -1, and for that case this is 2 raised power -1, 2 raised power -2, the power goes reducing, 2 raised power -3. Therefore this means it is a half. It is a half in that case. This is a quarter. This is an eighth. And for that case, a half is 0.5, a quarter is 0.25, and eighth is 0.125. You add them up, you get 0.375. And therefore, when you bring them together, the answer becomes 13.375. And then you have to put this 10 here. This 10 indicates that the number is decimal. Part C. A teacher entered test scores in a spreadsheet in the cell range C4 to C38. State the formula that should be used. Therefore, you can see a station whereby from C4 we have marks like 70, 80, 34, zikienda chini. So that means that state the formula that should be used to compute the mean. The mean is the average, and therefore it is equal to, if you leave equal to, then you get it wrong. It is equal to average, then you get the first value full colon the last value. You can also use a comma instead of a full colon, but it depends with the Microsoft Office you are using. Then number of scores. Therefore here we are trying to count, and therefore we use count if the range, then the criterion. Therefore it is count if C4, C38, comma, then quotation marks, greater than 50, then you cross. Then part 2, display the text pass if the score is greater than or equal to 30 and the text fail if otherwise. Therefore, since the first value is in C4, you cannot reference, you reference C4. Therefore, just correct this one. This is C4, sorry. Therefore, if C4, this is C4, you correct this one. If C4, that is the first value, is greater than 30, comma, pass, comma, fail. And therefore this is C4, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, let's just have that one. Man is to error should be this value. If C4 is greater or equal to 30, comma, pass, comma, fail. That is for the else statement. Then question number 19. State the unit of measure for each of the following quantities in a computer. Each is 1 mark. We have processor speed. That one there is no argument. It is measured using the smallest unit, which is hertz. Memory capacity, bytes. Some people say kilobytes, but we usually use the smallest. Then we have data transmission. We use megabytes per second, or you can also say kilobytes per second. Then state 3 functions of a query in a database, 6 marks. When you create a table, the next thing is usually to create a query. And for that case, we have been asked 3 functions of a query, but I have given many, but still these are not the only answers. Some students will still give other thousands of answers which are correct. Therefore, a query can be used to sort and filter data from a table. It can be used to retrieve specific data from tables. It can be used to organize and view data in different ways. It can be used to edit existing data in a database. It can also be used to delete information from tables or even to update data from a table. Some students will also say it is used to calculate, to perform calculations. It is also very much correct. Then we have a question from Form 1, the last topic. It's called Operating Systems, a subtopic about file folder tree or a file folder. Then Peter created folders named English, Mathematics or Maths, and Swahili in a folder named Studies. In the folder English, he created the folder Read and Language or Rang, where in Swahili folder he created Lugha and Fasihi. Draw a directory tree structure for all the folders created. Therefore, somebody may ask himself or herself where I got D. Therefore, given that the studies folder is in the root directory of drive D, this is where I got D. Write the path for the file named revision.doc stored in Lugha folder 2 marks. Therefore, this is the root directory D. We have studies, then studies, inside studies we have subfolder English, Mathematics and Swahili. Then inside subfolder English we have subfolders Read and Run. Then Mathematics doesn't have children, then or siblings here, and therefore Swahili has 2 children or subfolders, Lugha and Fasihi. And for that case you score your 4 marks. Then given that studies folder is in the root directory of drive D, write the path for a file named revision.doc stored in the Lugha folder 2 marks. Therefore you have it this way, having the backslash studies / Swahili / Lugha / revision.doc. Therefore those are the expected answers. Then the last question for some of the students who tackled this one. Explain 3 ways through which computer components in the computer laboratory may be protected against theft. Therefore, the first answer, we may have thousands of answers here depending on how students argue it out, but these are some of the guidelines that employ security guards. You can employ security guards, like every school has a security guard. We have installation of alarms. You can use grills or metal structures on doors and windows. You can close the computer room when not in use to avoid strangers from trespassing. You can install CCTVs to monitor the room. Also, this is very important, you can label the computers. In case they are stolen, you can easily identify them. That is, you can label the computer in a permanent way for easy identification. You can see many universities have done that. Even churches, they label their seats or sufferers or cups or plates for easy identification. Then we have part B. Computer studies subject has become an essential component of many professions. State 3 benefits of a computer knowledge to an engineer. Therefore, here you will argue out in reference to engineers. And for that case, it can be the engineer can be able to use softwares like AutoCAD. Remember, we are talking about computer studies, and computer studies here we are talking about teaching people on how to use computers. And if you teach an engineer how to use computer, he or she will be able to use AutoCAD. But if he doesn't have the computer skills, then you can answer that. Number 2, can do research on his field using computers. Computers can be used to do research. Remember, no one is jack of all trades. No man is an island. Therefore, even if you are an engineer, you need to research. Then, can effectively communicate through Zoom and such programs easily. Now that we are in COVID-19 era, you can see the importance of knowing computer. An engineer from Nairobi or wherever, he can be in a position to instruct or hold meeting through Zoom by the help of skills he or she gained through computer studies lessons. Therefore, on the other hand, in Form 1, we looked at gadgets like digitizers and plotters. These are used by engineers, and therefore, for that case, an engineer who has studied computer studies can use digitizers, plotters together with the computer to make his or her work easy. Therefore, I have said those are not the only answers. Answers can be many depending on the argument of the student. Part C, a school opted to provide internet to users in the school through the use of wireless technology. Therefore, the key word here is wireless technology. Explain 3 challenges that the school may face by using this form, that is the wireless technology. Therefore, here, ladies and gentlemen, the examiner is asking about disadvantages of wireless technology. Therefore, some of the expected answers are here in my guide, that the initial costs are very high. It is actually very costly to install Wi-Fi because of the gadgets involved. It is relatively difficult to establish or configure. Yeah, you need still to get an expert to configure for you. It is affected by line of sight, buildings, trees, obstacles, blah, 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 blah. Therefore, you realize that if you are configuring a nanostation here is when you are extending the Wi-Fi to buildings, they must see each other. They must be in a position to direct to each other. That is called line of sight. And therefore, this is a complication. Whereby if you are using a cable doesn't need to have a line of sight. Therefore, we also talk about generally, the general speed of a wireless connection is also usually slower compared to wired. That is a fact. Then, file sharing transfer speed are normally slower compared to wired. Also, that one is true. Then, it is less secure. Neighbors can steal bandwidth via cracking or hacking, or having passwords from teachers or their friends. If you live near a school, there is no need of denying your neighbors the password. And for that case, if you give out the password, then we term that we shall say that the neighbors are stealing bandwidth, making the internet less secure and also making it slower. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening and watching this series. I will be doing the next paper, that is paper 2, in my next video. Remember to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. You can also visit my website. I have dropped the address just below this video so that you can download more materials for even other years that I have done. Therefore, again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. See you in my next